Today, we've got something special. Sony's back with another addition to their Xperia lineup, and it's a pretty unique one. We're talking about the Sony Xperia 10v6, a phone that keeps Sony's signature 21:9 aspect ratio, but is it really worth your hard-earned cash? Let's find out. So let's kick things off with the design. The Xperia 10v6 stays true to Sony's design DNA. It's long, narrow, and definitely stands out compared to all the other slab phones on the market. The plastic build might feel a bit cheap to some, but on the flip side, it's lightweight and durable. Plus, you still get those front-facing stereo speakers and, believe it or not, a 3.5mm headphone jack. Yes, that's a rarity in 2024. The real highlight here, though, is the 6.1-inch OLED display. It's sharp, it's vibrant, and with a pixel density of 449 ppi, it actually outdoes some flagships in clarity. But there's a catch. The refresh rate is stuck at 60 Hz, which feels pretty outdated when other phones in this price range offer 90 Hz or even 120 Hz. But still, that 21:9 aspect ratio makes watching movies on this thing a cinematic experience. All right, let's talk about cameras. The Xperia 10v6 isn't breaking any new ground here. You get a 48-megapixel main sensor, an 8-megapixel ultra-wide, and an 8-megapixel selfie camera. Photos from the main camera are decent. They'll get the job done for most casual users, but the details can be a bit soft, especially around the edges, and the dynamic range could be better. And the ultra-wide, well, it suffers from the same issues: soft details and not so great dynamic range. It's fine for quick snaps, but if you're looking for stunning landscape shots, this probably isn't the phone for you. On the bright side, Sony's added 4K video recording back into the mix, thanks to the new Snapdragon 6 Gen 1 chipset. The video quality is solid, and the image stabilization helps when you're filming on the go, but again, don't expect flagship-level performance here. Now, speaking of the Snapdragon 6 Gen 1, let's talk about performance. For day-to-day tasks, it gets the job done. 8GB of RAM helps with multitasking, but don't expect blazing fast speeds. There are times where it can feel a little sluggish, especially when you compare it to rivals like the Nothing Phone 2A or the Pixel 8a, which are either cheaper or just a bit more expensive, but offer a lot more horsepower. On the software front, it runs a clean version of Android 14, which is great. You do get Sony's SideSense, which lets you swipe the edges to bring up shortcuts. It's finally more usable in this version, but the downside, Sony is only promising one major Android update to Android 15. So if long-term software support is important to you, keep that in mind. Battery life is where things get a bit disappointing. The Xperia 10v6 packs a 5,000 mAh battery, which sounds great on paper, but in reality, it's not quite the battery champ that its predecessors were. It'll last you a day, but the competition is doing better in this department. Sony Xperia 10v6 pros and cons. Pros: excellent display with 449 ppi, 3.5mm headphone jack, clean Android 14 experience, good audio quality. Cons: limited software support, one major update, can feel sluggish at times compared to rivals. Now, one area where the Xperia 10v6 holds its own is in the audio department. Those front-facing stereo speakers deliver rich, detailed sound, and yes, the headphone jack is still here. The audio quality is solid, with a nice balance of bass and clarity, although you might get some distortion at higher volumes. So should you buy the Sony Xperia 10v6? Well, it's definitely a niche device. If you're a fan of Sony's 21:9 aspect ratio, or you just really want a phone with a micro SD card slot and headphone jack, this could be for you. The display is great, the audio is solid, and it's lightweight and easy to use. But for €399, the competition is fierce. The Nothing Phone 2A performs better for less money, and if you can stretch your budget just a bit, the Pixel 8a is a better all-around phone. Even the Galaxy A55 offers more for less with a 120Hz display and better software support.